Today in this video, we talk about if a June 2020 stock market crash is coming. Now that we are on June 1st, as of recording this video, do we have a stock market crash coming or not? And let me just first start out by addressing the elephant in the room, which is this thought process that it's going to be impossible to get the stock market to crash or collapse or do anything like remotely negative, okay? What we have seen from the NASDAQ is it just go up and up and up. Meanwhile, an onslaught of bad data, bad news across the board. Like you couldn't find like 1 out of every 100 good things to say about the stock market or economy over the past couple months, other than it just keeps going up and up and up. So I can fully understand some folks out there losing like faith that the stock market can go down, because all we have done is seen it go up and up and up, and it honestly doesn't make much sense. And we'll get into some of that in this video. The S&P 500 is now what, 300 points away from an all-time high in the S&P 500. This is incredible. NASDAQ, like we just looked at, was literally pushing up against all-time highs. Okay, this is an extraordinary situation. It's not like we're in a down and out stock market that's reflecting all of the bad news that's going on out there. No, we're in the furthest thing from that, okay? In May, everything was bad, except the only real positive you could find in the month of May was some businesses did open. Some businesses started to open their doors across the US and also, other parts of the world as well. And so that gave us some glimmer of good news. And honestly, that's about the only good news you could possibly find out there. And the stock market just kept going up and up and up, okay? And let me tell you about a stock market trick. Stocks just keep going one way, and it starts making you forget that they can even go the other way, okay? I've seen this happen, I've been in the stock market for 12 years now. I've seen this happen so many times to investors on the downside or the upside, where essentially the market just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And you just start thinking, oh, this is all the stock market does. This is all stocks do. They just go up and up and up. I'm just, it's just awesome, and that's what you start to think about. And you start even you can't even think about the possibility of the stock market falling 10% or 15% or 20%. It can't even enter your thought process, just because you're so used to, and psychologically you've been trained, and you're so used to just seeing the stock market go up time after time after time. Don't matter what negative news comes out, it goes up. And that's the type of market. And I've seen it on the other side, okay? I've seen it where the stock market downtrends for months and months on end. And I've watched investors just basically start to think like the stock market only is going to go down from here. Doesn't matter. Oh, I just bought this stock and it just went down another 5%. I bought this stock, just went down another 10%. And people start thinking like the stock market only goes down, and then it starts to reverse, okay? And so this is a stock market trick. It happens all the time. So let me just tell you, I fully understand. If you believe that, it's impossible that the stock market's not going to crash or have any type of negative thing, okay? What are we looking at? What is the truth? What are we actually looking at? Well, we're looking at Rona that continues to get worse. Rona hasn't just gone away. I know it hasn't been in the media attention with, obviously the George Floyd death and the protests and everything like that. That's all on the media attention right now. And so it's kind of went away from Rona and it's went over to George Floyd. And so Rona, but meanwhile, Rona is still going on. Do people not know this? Rona is still going on. There's 23,000 something new cases just in the United States here today. And cases are continuing to climb. Rona is still a real thing, okay? This hasn't gone away and it's no, this is still really going on. This is still affecting the economy very negatively. Meanwhile, speaking about the George Floyd protests, we have some craziness going on. Let's be honest. This is probably the craziest we've seen in the United States of America in a long time. And it's not just in Minnesota. It's everywhere. I mean, every big city has some dramatic stuff going on. From, in Minnesota, you can go to Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles. It's gone everywhere, honestly. This is unbelievable. It's every major city. I mean, look at these pictures. Pictures speak 1,000 words, as they say, right? A place that I never ever thought would ever get touched in my life as far as something like this. Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. Are you kidding me? Okay? Are you kidding me? It's the nicest mall in Arizona. I've been there many times, and usually when I go to visit Arizona, I love to go there, which by by the way, I should have actually been in Arizona this weekend. It's kind of weird that I wasn't, but I ended up happening to not go. And there you have Scottsdale Fashion Square. This place was looted and vandalized and everything, like just completely destroyed. And that's nuts, okay? That's just nuts. And by the way, they just opened that Apple store a couple of years ago. I remember going in it just after it opened. And I was like, this is the sickest Apple store I've ever been in. It was beautiful. And oh gosh, YouTuber Jake Paul seen among those looting crowds at Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. Like Jake Paul, like the Paul brothers, man. Oh gosh, they just have to. They have to try to give us YouTubers a bad name. Like seriously, man. Oh, it's so frustrating. Like what was he doing there, man? Like Jake Paul, like what were you doing there, man? Like you're just, and now just everybody, hating on YouTubers again. It's just ridiculous, but it is what it is. Downtown Summerlin, I was there just a few hours ago, and I gotta say, downtown Summerlin, it was like they were closing. It was so weird. And then I just found out like they completely barricaded downtown Summerlin up. I had posted back at 4:54, was there. I didn't realize they kind of like closed it, and I was driving around there past the time they closed. I guess they closed at like 4, and I'm like, why are all the stores closing? Like this is so weird. Like everywhere's closed. I literally don't get it. And literally it's because they closed it down, and who knows what's going to happen there tonight. But it's just a mess around the United States. Okay, let's just put it that way. We haven't seen something this crazy in quite some time, and you can't really compare any of the protests over the past 5 or 6 years to this one. I feel like this one's way bigger and way more serious than anything we've seen in the past. Okay, let's just put it that way. Okay, so here are the facts as of June 1st. These are facts. These are not opinions. Okay, American cities are in major unrest. Probably the biggest major unrest we've had in a considerable amount of time. Okay, I mean, I don't know when you have to go back to this much unrest, but it hasn't been any time in like recent history. Let's put it that way. So American cities are in major unrest. Rona is still going strong. Okay, the numbers are still going up quite dramatically day in and day out, and we're going to still have to see as the economy reopens what happens to those Rona numbers. Do they go up to 50K a day again or 100K? Like what happens if that happens? Is it going to calm down in summertime and then really ramp back up in fall time and winter time? This still remains to be seen. Okay, we just don't know, but we do know the numbers are getting bigger and bigger as the days go on. Corporate profits are awful right now. We just saw every public company report over the past month or two, and their profits are all pretty much down considerably from what was expected. I mean, it's awful. It's pretty much the worst time for corporate profits in a long time. Let's put it that way, okay? Number 4, corporate balance sheets have been devastated the past 3 months. Debt has risen considerably. A lot of these companies have had to take out junk bonds. Cash levels have come down quite considerably for a lot of these companies because they need the cash to basically just fund the business through these hard times right now. I mean, almost every single public company in the world, literally almost every single one, their balance sheet has gotten quite worse over the past 3 months. For every one company that's had an improved balance sheet in the past 3 months, there's 1,000 public companies that have had their balance sheets get quite a bit worse over the past 3 months, okay? We've seen GDP declines that are pretty much the worst ever, and wait till this next quarter numbers come out. It's gonna be bad when it comes to gross domestic product and how bad that declines will be there. Number 6, a lot of folks that are 60 years and older are scared to go out or refuse to go out, okay? I went to a restaurant a couple nights in a row that is usually jam-packed with like 60-year-olds. The restaurant's right near like, age-restricted communities, like really large age-restricted communities. So naturally that restaurant, their customer base is usually like people, 55 plus, and most of the folks are 60 years old and older that go in there. Like usually when I go in there, I'm 30. I'm usually always the youngest customer in there. Amazing food at this place. And it was just completely empty on a Friday night and Saturday night. I went back-to-back nights. That's how you know the food was good over there, okay? Back-to-back nights over there. And the place was like a ghost town. I was like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't like this 3 or 4 months ago. But just the fact is, like a lot of folks that are, around that 60-year-old or older, they just don't want to go out. Remember I said I was going to go to Arizona and ended up not going? Well, before, when I was going to go, I talked to my parents. I said, hey, you guys want to go out to dinner? I could take us all out to dinner. We can go have dinner somewhere. They were like, no, we don't want to go anywhere, okay? Both my parents are around 60 years old. Neither one of them wanted to go anywhere. They're just not interested. And they're the type of people that love to go out, go have some food somewhere, go have some beers and have a good time. And they're like, no, they refuse to go out right now until this whole, situation with the Rona is figured out. That you have going on. Number 7, people with serious health conditions are scared to go out. So this is people that aren't, 60 plus, but, just have some serious health conditions. A lot of them are like, not so sure about going out, right? Number 8, some companies are thriving during this time, but remember, for every one public company that is seeing an increase in their revenues compared to what it should have been, you've got 100 companies that business is much worse, okay? Let's be very clear about that. You have very few public companies out there that are doing much better because of everything that's going on than are doing worse, okay? It's few and far between, and we just need to make that point, because I don't think that's getting through enough investors' heads. Like, some people are like, well, there's a lot of companies benefiting from this. No, there's not, okay? Most companies would be far better if we had not had the Rona. Let's just put it that way, okay? Number 9, on the good news front, the economy has started to reopen in the past 3 weeks, and that is good. And I've seen some stores with some encouraging signs that are actually really busy, okay? And I'm not just talking about Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot. I'm not talking about those places that have been open all the time. I'm talking about some of these stores that have been closed. I've, done a lot of driving around, and also in the Discord chat, we have folks from all over the world that have been posting pictures of, restaurants they might go to, or just, retail stores, and I've seen definitely some encouraging signs from some places as far as people actually going there and willing to spend money and things like that. But at the same time, now some of these places are obviously having to close because now we have the protests. And how is all that going to work out? We still don't know. This is still has to all play out, okay? Number 10, mortgage forbearance is going away very soon, right? A lot of people have been in that mortgage forbearance for the last several months. That will be going away, and some even in kind of like a rent forbearance situation. And that's likely to go away very, very soon, okay? Number 11, China and U.S. tensions are picking up again. We thought, well, maybe the U.S. and China, they're going to start getting along again. No, tensions are picking up again. And both these countries honestly very much need each other economically. Without China, a lot of these public companies you invest in, their numbers would not be what they are without China, okay? And at the same token, China in general would just not have nearly as strong of an economy if it wasn't for the United States. So both these countries really need each other. And I can promise you, most of these big companies that you might be investing in, these top 20, top 50 biggest companies out there, a lot of them get considerable amounts of their revenues and profits from China. Some of them 10%, some of them 20%, some of them 30% plus. And so this is something very important to pay attention to. And also in terms of these companies' growth story, a lot of it has to, hinge on China, right? You think about a big company like a Starbucks, right? One of the most bullish theses if you're investing in Starbucks is the expansion around China. What if that was to slow down, right? You think about one of my stocks, Tesla, right? One of the biggest bullish theses is the fact that Tesla could ramp heavy in China over the next 5-10 years, right? And if you think about these tensions rising and rising, who knows what's going to happen there? That's just not a good look for the stock market. At the end of the day, it's just not. Both countries need each other, and it seems like it's getting worse rather than getting better. Number 12, we're about to have the ugliest presidential election coming. Okay, this one's more opinion than facts, but I will 100% stand with this one. I think we're about to have the ugliest presidential election that we've ever seen. I think regardless whether Trump wins or Trump loses, people are going to lose their minds, okay? So just get ready. There's going to be no presidential election in modern times where you're going to have seen anything like what will be the aftermath from this upcoming presidential election, in my personal opinion. It's going to be ugly, not just prior to the election, but after, okay? It's gonna be ugly because we know the people that love Trump, they can't even imagine him not being in office, right? And a lot of them believe, oh my gosh, it's already the media is against him and all these sorts of things. And on the flip side, you have people on the other side that, didn't want Trump in the first place, and they had trouble dealing with the fact that they would have to deal with 4 years of him. If they have to deal with another 4 years, just trust me, it's gonna be the ugliest presidential election because he is such a divisive figure on both sides, where people either super love him or super hate him. I mean, it's way more than any president we've had in modern history. Let's put it that way. So get ready for a crazy presidential election. Let's put it that way, okay? Number 13, the Fed balance sheet is now $7 trillion and counting. It has increased from under $4 trillion just a few months ago to now over $7 trillion, and it's continuing to rise. And who knows how high it can go? Can it go to 10 trillion, 15 trillion, 20 trillion? We don't know. It's just going up. That's something we do know. Unemployment rate's probably right around 20% right now. Some of these numbers we've seen recently, about 14, 15%. That's backwards looking data. We're probably over 20% realistically right now when it comes to unemployment rate. And the fact is, you look at that stock market, I mean, we just went through a crazy amount of data, right? You look at that stock market, it's not reflecting reality. Let's be honest. I mean, there's no way you can say the stock market is reflecting reality right now. Even forward-looking reality, even if you're thinking about 6 months, 12 months out, with all the craziness, like how can you say this is a healthy stock market when we're near all-time highs with the massive gauntlet of real bad news that's going on? It's not healthy. That's just flat out honest truth. And I don't want to hear this excuse, well, the NASDAQ's very heavily weighted towards certain companies. Are you kidding me? Okay. Do you think most of these companies that are heavily weighted are benefiting way more because of the Rona than if they were not? Not really. Okay. Microsoft might be benefiting a little bit more than if there wasn't Rona, but it's a little bit. Okay. Apple, their business isn't even close to being as strong as it would be if Rona had never came. Yet Apple stock is trading right around an all-time high. How does that make any sense? Okay. There's no way you can look at Apple's numbers. The numbers are just far worse than if Rona never existed, okay? Amazon's seeing a slight uptick in business. There's no doubt about that, but it's a slight uptick, okay? Their revenue growth for this past quarter was pretty much right in line with what a lot of folks expected. It was maybe a little stronger, but it wasn't like Amazon, oh my gosh, Amazon just suddenly grew revenues 50%. No, it was just a little stronger than what it would have been. So they're one of the companies that is benefiting, but it's not like it's a huge margin compared to how much of the declines these other companies are seeing. The FB, yeah, sure, their usage is up huge, okay? And remember, the FB I think is my biggest investment, my second biggest investment, so I'm gonna have to talk down on it for a second. But the flat out honest truth is, despite FB having way more usage, ad rates are down massively right now. And I mean absolutely massively right now, because tons of businesses have what? Stopped advertising. Because think about it, if you've been closed, why are you going to advertise, right? Why are you going to advertise if you're a business out there, if there's no point if you're closed, right? It just doesn't make sense to be advertising. Google has seen ad rates fall considerably. Google McDougal has talked about, hiring freezes for most of their departments. This is Google McDougal. Do you think their business is way stronger because of Rona? No. The flat out honest truth is Google's business is way worse off with Rona going around, the economy being shut down than what it would have been if everything just stayed copacetic and everything was just great and great, okay? So this whole argument about, well, these guys they're killing it because of Rona. No, they're not. They're just not, okay? Their valuations are getting more and more out of whack. That's all that's going on here, okay? The stock market is trading at its highest valuation in 18 years. 18 years. And I can tell you, since that came out, it's gotten worse. Stock market's gone up a bunch more since this article was actually written, okay? Valuations are the highest they've been in a long, long time in the stock market, okay? And the flat out honest truth is if the stock market keeps going up, it's just getting more overvalued. And I think that's something you just have to come to grips with, okay? And it doesn't mean every single stock in the stock market is overvalued. I want to be very clear about that, because remember, when you're talking about the stock market, you're talking about thousands upon thousands of stocks, okay? I want to be very clear. It does not mean every single stock. You can still find a good deal here and there, but I can tell you they are few and far between, and if this market keeps going up, it's just getting more and more overvalued. Now, just because it's getting more and more overvalued doesn't mean necessarily we can have a stock market crash, because it could just get to ridiculous levels. I mean, look back at the tech bubble. It was just stupid. It was just stupid, right? We could go there. If this market just wants to keep going there, we hit all-time highs. Okay, let's just go super, super overvalued then, okay? What will it take for the stock market to crash in June of 2020? This is what it will take. In order for us to see an actual stock market crash this month in June of 2020, we need stock market reality to finally hit, okay? I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but if it finally hits and the stock market finally wakes up out of its, coma it's in right now, where it just doesn't want to look at anything negative and just wants to look at the 1 out of 100 positives right now and push this market up to all-time highs, if stock market reality finally hits this, okay, we'll finally start to get a sell-off, and we'll finally start to get some folks saying, I'm going to profit take, okay? Whether it's people that have held positions for years, or whether it's people that bought in, heavy in that fall in March. Remember when the stock market got really rough in the month of March? A lot of people went ahead and bought in. A lot of investors bought in. And great, if you bought, anyway along the dip, you're probably green on a lot of your shares, and substantially green, despite most of these companies, their businesses being horrible compared to what their businesses used to be, okay? So if the sell-off finally starts, we'll start to finally see some profit taken. If we start to finally see some profit taken, then guess what's going to happen? Some stop losses are going to start being hit. So basically, what you have in the stock market, many funds do this and many individual investors do this. They will put in a stop loss on their shares. So those shares get sold don't matter what if they hit a certain price. So let's say an investor bought shares at, for XYZ stock at $7 a share. And now it's gone up to $10 a share. They're like, man, I'm up huge on this. I'm going to put in a stop loss in at $9. So I can guarantee myself $2 per share of profit. And that's what a ton of funds do and a ton of investors out there. And they love to do that. I don't personally do it, but a ton of people do that. It's just facts, okay? And so if those shares ever hit $9, don't matter what, those shares are getting sold, okay? Those shares are getting sold. And then most investors or funds, if for some reason it jumps below that without being able to get sold at that price, they'll just go in and manually sell it because they're like, it didn't hit 9, it went straight to 885, I need to just get out of this, and they'll just straight up sell. So if stop losses start getting hit, what's going to end up happening is it's going to cause more selling and more stop losses to get hit. And this is how you can get the stock market to go down so fast when the market actually gets into a downtrending situation, right? We obviously saw this in March, right? I mean, the March fall was the fastest we've ever seen in the history of the stock market. Think about that with, the Fed and the economic system we have in place and all that. And we still saw in 22 trading days, the stock market fell 35%, the most in history, the fastest in history, okay? Something to take into account, that's absolutely extraordinary, okay? And more, this will end up happening. If we go into a situation where people start taking profits, stop losses start getting hit, it's just gonna breed more and more stop losses and selling. And what you have is, selling just compounds more selling, okay? You have FOMO on the upside, right? Where, stocks keep going up and people start getting that fear of missing out. Oh gosh, I just gotta buy this stock, who cares? Just gotta buy it. That happens on the upside. The downside, it's all about those stop losses getting hit, and more selling breeds more and more selling. Then you have sideline money start to get scared because basically some sideline money will start coming in the fall. But a lot of sideline money, if they see the market continue to go down 2%, 3%, 4% week after week after week, a lot of folks will say, I got my $100 over here. Do I want to put in the market yet? Maybe not yet. Maybe I got to wait for, things to calm down or something like that. And that happens with a lot of sideline money. And so, right now, a lot of sideline money has gotten FOMO over the last couple of weeks because they just seen the market continue to go up and up and up. And then they got, you have the thing on top of that, which was the economy is going to be reopening, and that's so much excitement. And so you've had a lot of sideline money say, heck, I'm just going to buy into this market. And we've seen it. Look at the numbers of the stock market. It's just gone pretty much up and up and up. A lot of folks saying, I just got to get in, man. I just got to get in. Here, take my money, stocks. I just got to get in this, okay? So sideline money will start to get scared, and then you'll have a real big flush finally, okay? You'll have a real big flush, and we'll end up having to overshoot to the downside. And this is usually what happens in the stock market. To the upside, right now we've had a way big overshoot to the upside, in my personal opinion, based upon the facts. Like this upside, we way overshot to the upside. There was no problem with the stock market starting to bounce back a little bit. Maybe the Dow goes from 18K to 20K. Maybe the NASDAQ goes from where to bottom at 6,600 to 7,000 or 7,500. That would have been normal. But to go to pretty much almost all-time highs where the NASDAQ's pushing up against S&P 500, that doesn't, we way overshot to the upside. We've gotten way too excited, way too much hope out there of what's really going on. And so if we get this, we're gonna get a real big flush and we'll get an overshoot to the downside. Now those overshoots to the downside, that's when the major money can be made, okay? When you get that type of situation, which, who knows if we'll get it because we don't know. Stock market might not reflect reality. The stock market might continue to go up and everything continue to be bad and it just doesn't make any sense. And stock market's had periods where it does that. It just doesn't reflect any reality, right? Stock market had a time when it was pushing up, the NASDAQ to what, 5,000? And then it took, how long did it take? 15 years or something for the NASDAQ to hit 5,000 again? Like the stock market can act really ridiculous sometimes, but eventually reality does have to hit. And if it hits, we'll probably end up overshooting the downside, and that's where a lot of money will end up being made. But don't let that discourage you from looking into stocks because there are some deals still out there. It's few and far between. I can promise you that. It's few and far between. I think this is one of the worst times, in my personal opinion, to, in June just be putting money in index funds with the stock market getting close to all-time highs. When reality is just awful right now. I think index funds, in my personal opinion, very dangerous at the moment. Most of the time, index funds can make a lot of sense, especially if you don't want to pick individual stocks. But I think in an environment like this, where NASDAQ's pushing up against all-time highs, I think in an environment environment like this, you've got to really be an individual stock picker. You got to really be trying to spot the deals out there rather than just like, you know, I'm just going to stick my money in an index fund. That's my personal opinion. Obviously, you guys make your own decisions out there, but it should be an interesting June. Will the stock market finally reflect reality, or will it just keep wandering around like it has been doing and just keep going up? We shall see, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed today's video as always, and I hope I laid out a lot of, you know, interesting things for you guys. Make sure you smash thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video as always. Thank you for watching and have a great day.